Welcome everybody to our Wednesday Bible study. We are thankful that you are with us this evening, and as I always try to remember to say at the very beginning, we send you greetings from the Hickory Knoll Church of Christ, where we strive to be Christ-centered and Bible-based, and we want you to feel welcome and encouraged to visit with us, to worship with us, and to let us know if we can help you in any way. This evening we continue our study in the book of Philippians, and we have arrived to chapter 4, verse number 9. We've slowed down a bit. Philippians 4 is filled with practical, day-to-day, real advice on how to live our lives from a godly perspective. And the Apostle Paul, as you know, is writing from prison, and he's got all kinds of things going on. Having been persecuted for his faith, having an opportunity, though, to continue to be of a good influence and good example to those Christians. And Paul wanted nothing more in his life than to, number one, to serve the Lord, but number two, for others to be saved as well. And what a worthy, noble way to live one's life, always concerned about their spiritual well-being. Well, he captures that thought in Philippians chapter 4, verse number 9, in which he says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. This afternoon, as we're thinking about what Paul is saying here, put into practice. The idea of doing as imitating and as mentoring, training, coaching, instilling, carrying on. It's the idea that we have the opportunity to influence others, and it's the idea that others are learning from us. And I know there's that popular phrase, do as I say, not as I do, right? But in all actuality, I think we would all agree with that more times than not, people are actually going to do what we do more than what we say. And in other words, they're watching our every move, and whether good or bad, and unfortunately, there's nothing we can do to change that. Whether good or bad, people are watching us. And Paul knew that. And Paul knew that others were looking up to him for guidance, for encouragement, looking for direction in their lives. And so let's think some through this for a brief message titled, Do As I Do. We want to be a good example, knowing that others are learning from us. Many years ago, when I was about 15 or 16 years old, I decided I wanted to really get into this local ministry type thing of preaching and teaching. And my grandmother, Zadine, was living, still is, in Batesville, Arkansas, and you know, there was the preacher, the legend, if you will, from that part of the country in Arkansas, was a fellow by the name of Jimmy Allen. Now, I'm thinking quite a bit about Brother Jimmy Allen, as knowing that he's recently passed away, and a lot of good memories have been coming about. But Grandma always talked about Jimmy Allen and how powerful of a preacher he was, and well before I was around, back in the 1960s. And so he would hold these massive gospel meetings in which thousands of people would come together, and would have many folks becoming Christians, having repented of sin and being baptized. And I just remember being fascinated by this Jimmy Allen fella. And so, but well before I ever met him, I started I started listening to his sermons on tape, and I started reading books. Grandma had these old books at her house, and she allowed me to take some of them, and a couple of them were connected or written by, they were old sermons by Jimmy Allen. And I remember this was a very forceful type preacher back in the day. And in fact, I believe one of his sermon books was titled, What is Hell Like? And he had 10 points of what hell is like. And I remember a lot of those early sermons and trying to, in a sense, be like Jimmy Allen. Although I didn't consider myself a hellfire and condemnation type fella, there were, he was, I knew he was very powerful and very influential in his preaching. Well, a little time went by, and became a student at Harding, and I couldn't wait to take his Romans class. And by the time I came through in the late 90s at Harding, he was down to only teaching one class, which was Romans, and so you couldn't take that freshman year. But freshman year, he was one of the speakers at the lectureship, and if I'm remembering correctly, even a gospel meeting that they had on campus. And even in his older age, I mean, he still had it, and he was able to preach. And one of the things I noticed, though, was that his preaching was a bit more, it was still filled with truth, but it was a bit more graceful in his presentation as compared to some of those early sermon tapes and early sermon outlines that I was listening to and reading from. And so sophomore year rolls around, and I finally get an opportunity to be in his class, and he, of course, was very passionate about the book of Romans, and he talked to us about how he had read and studied this book his entire life, and as a younger preacher, he looked at the book of Romans more from the truth and righteousness perspective, which he still did, and how it is filled with doctrine. But one of the things he had mentioned was how, as he continued to read the book of Romans, he came to further appreciate the grace that was captured as a defining central feature of this book. And he talked about how his study of the word resulted in him preaching, continued preaching and being motivated by it. And one of the things he had said was that if he had to do it all over again, believe it or not, he said that he would have preached more about grace than he had back many years prior. So anyway, I share that story with you just to say that I was at a point where I was learning everything I could from one of the preachers that I respected and looked up to. And I was wanting to imitate him. I was wanting to be mentored by him, to be trained by him. And I was just very, very thankful to have had that opportunity. And one of the things that I learned from him was that he was very passionate and faithful to the Lord throughout his life. And one of the things that I'm striving to do is to continue to grow as a minister and to continue to try to do the best that I can. Philippians 4, verse number 9, put it into practice. I believe New King James Version just simply says, these do, or King James Version says to do. We're all going to be influencing others. We're all going to be learning from others. Many years later, back around 2007 or so, the elders at the Hickory Knoll Church announced that Brother Dennis Jones was going to be preaching for us on a weekly basis, and I was going to continue to have some responsibilities, and that was trying to figure out exactly how all of that would unfold. And I remember being in the fellowship room, and Brother John Hutchins coming up to me. I think this was a Tuesday morning after Bible class, and we were talking about Dennis going to be being around quite a bit more. And he put both hands on my shoulders, Brother John did. And he said, in talking about Dennis, I want you to learn leadership from this guy. I'll never forget that. And so one of the things that I've strived to do over the past several years is to learn leadership from this guy, following the advice of one of my elders and learning from a fellow minister. And I'm very thankful for having that opportunity to learn from Brother Dennis. But 2 questions for you as we think about this idea of whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. 2 questions for you to think about. Number 1, who are you learning from currently? Who is your mentor? Who gives you guidance? Who is the person that you listen to and you do whatever they say to do? Who is instilling thoughts and ideas into you, into your life, and the way that your outlook in life? Who are you striving to imitate? Hopefully, the person who is influencing you and mentoring you and instilling values into you, hopefully that is a faithful Christian. Hopefully that is someone who loves the Lord, who loves others, who loves the truth, who loves God's grace, who loves God's plan of salvation, who loves morality, who loves righteousness. Hopefully it's the full package that we are learning from. It may be the case that we're getting our guidance, our advice, our ideas from non-Christian people. And it's not to say that that there are just people intentionally trying to lead us astray, but who is it that you're talking to? Who is it that's giving you guidance? Who is it that's giving you advice? Hopefully we can all say that we are being trained, we're being influenced by, we are learning from those who are faithful Christians in the Lord. So that's question number 1. Who are you learning from? And then question number 2 for your consideration this evening: who is learning from you? We're all influencing someone somehow, whether good or bad. And someone is watching how you live your life. Who is learning from you? As you think about these things, put it into practice, these things do. Would you want someone to put into practice the type of spouse that you are? Would you want someone to put into practice the type of parent you are? Would you want someone to put into practice the type of worker you are? Would you want someone to put into practice the type of friend you are? The type of Christian you are? Everyone is influencing somebody. And there's folks who are watching, who are listening, who are seeing, and who are doing the things that we do. And so be mindful of the fact that, yes, number 1, we have an opportunity to be influenced by others, but also understand we have the opportunity to influence others. And let's learn as much as we can from godly Christian people in our lives who have been there, done that, and got the t-shirt to go with it. And let's do all that we can to inspire, to motivate, to train, to guide, to lead others who may be younger, either by age, younger in the faith, who are looking towards us to learn how it is they can better serve the Lord, better live out the Christian life, to be students of the Word, and to be doers, to be hearers, not only hearers of the Word, but doers of the Word as well. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me, Paul writes, or seen, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. I hope this has been helpful to you. More next time. Take care, and God bless.